Does everything in life happen according to divine will? Or does everything happen according to our will? How do we understand life? How do we make sense of what is happening to us and what is happening around us? Let us explore the issue of free will and divine will today. Shall we? Namaste. The issue of free will and divine will is a very old one. Well, if you had to listen to David Attenborough, the British natural historian, he is laying out a case against humanity's destructive actions that is taking the planet towards the sixth mass extinction. If you listen to him, you will definitely say there is a free will and that humanity is misusing its free will and causing destruction to the planet. Previous mass extinctions were caused due to natural factors, but not this one. This one is being precipitated because of humanity. But again, when you look at the complexity and enigma of human life, it is unpredictable and uncertain. And we have very little control over our life. This is the truth. Someone very insignificant becomes significant, and someone significant becomes insignificant. Misfortune becomes fortune, and fortune becomes misfortune. Separation becomes togetherness, and togetherness becomes separation. Unable to understand why, you call it divine will. So, what is the right view? Life or reality is one, but there are many ways to view it. Some views lead you to unhappiness. Some views lead you to great revolution, expansion, and synchronicities in life. Dependent on your version of reality, your decisions, your actions, and your destiny unfolds for you. If your version of reality is that there is only divine will, then that is how your experience of life would unfold. If your version is that all is divine will, you have absolutely no choice on anything, be it good or bad. Now I am sure some of you have heard this story from your parents or grandparents as children. It seems there was a king who had a wise minister who believed that everything that happens in life is divine will. One day the minister joined the king on a hunt. During the hunt, the king suffers an accident and his little finger is severed. The minister rushes to the aid of the king and gets him the necessary medical aid. However, the king is very disturbed and keeps asking, "Why did this ever happen to me?" The minister smiles and says, "My king, how will you ever be able to comprehend the ways of the divine? This is an act of divine will." As you can well imagine, the king flew into a rage and ordered the minister to be put in a cell as a punishment for speaking what he perceived as nonsense. A few weeks later, the king once again goes hunting and gets lost in the depths of the forest and is caught by a cannibalistic tribe that wants to offer him as a sacrifice to their goddess. So they gag the king, and as they're getting him ready, they see that his little finger is broken. They are disappointed and declare him as an imperfect offering for the goddess and let him go. The king returns to the palace and orders the release of the minister and apologizes to the minister for his haste and arrogance. The minister smiles and says, "All is divine will and all God's kindness." The king asks, "I can see my losing my finger was God's kindness, but how about you languishing in jail for 3 weeks? Is that also divine will?" The minister says, "Absolutely, for if I had not been in jail, I would have come along in the hunt, and they would have captured me and offered me as a sacrifice to the goddess." Now, my question to you is, what is your perception of the divine? Are you perceiving the divine to be a benevolent, compassionate being who cares for your happiness and well-being? Or are you perceiving the divine to be juggernaut, a merciless, unstoppable force that controls everything? If your perception were to be that the divine is benevolent being, Then you relax even in complex situations and you enjoy the ride. You trust the divine totally, like you would trust your best friend or your own child. But if your view of the divine is a ruthless force that dominates you and controls you, and does not care for your happiness and unhappiness, then in that reality, you live like a slave, a puppet whose strings are being pulled by its master. Life feels scary and miserable in this version. Do you get it? Now, if your view is that free will is all there is, then what happens? In this version, everything begins and ends with you. If you perform good actions, you have good results. If you perform bad actions, you have bad results. There is no force outside of you that determines your experience of life. If you eat too much sugar, you end up with a weak immune system. You end up with diabetes. So you stop sugar, you get on a no carb diet, your health improves and body heals. But not all situations are as simple as this in this version of reality. You fight a different kind of battle here. Your battle is against other people's free will. You are not the only one with a free will. You have more than 8 billion human population constantly exercising their free will, and oftentimes their will interferes with your will. Every one of them is fighting for their will to prevail and others to lose. Unless there is an awakening in consciousness, every individual will be exercising their free will only towards a self centric pursuit and not be inclusive of the other. When you awaken, you see others as an extension of yourself and you take into account their happiness and well being in your decisions and actions. Now, is there a third version of reality? Yes, there is a third version. This is an enlightened version of reality. This version of reality is a glorious treat to your consciousness. In this reality, your consciousness is so expanded and vast. It is like the vastness of space. In space, several planets, solar systems, and galaxies are moving around in harmony. Just like that, in an enlightened version of reality, perceptions don't collide. There is no effort to hold on to one and push out the other. There is no effort to understand and analyze any perception. There is no juggling between perceptions in confusion and conflict. In an enlightened reality, you are a witness to the arising and ceasing of perceptions. You see reality, you see life to be a vast flow. This flow may appear as a divine play one moment, it may appear as an interplay of karmic forces another moment, or reality may appear to be what it is, nothing beyond what is obvious. Birth is a fact, so also is death. Every moment is a movement of life and is lived totally, without a need to give any metaphysical explanation. A situation is simply so. In an enlightened consciousness, there is no one absolute version or absolute reality. You move beyond all versions. You may not be able to understand this enlightened way of perceiving reality through the ordinary frames of your mind. Your logic says black or white, both cannot coexist. But in an enlightened perception, opposites do coexist. A glimpse of this from a scientific perspective would be how an electron behaves both as a wave and a particle, or how a particle can exist in two places at the same time, a phenomenon called quantum superposition. Ekam sat, vipra bahuda vadanti. Truth ultimately is one, but the wise perceive it in many ways. Just the same, every version of reality is only a perception. Whether you see it as a free will or divine will, reality is one. We see it in many ways. We have to understand the way our society is organized. That's very, very important for this question. Now, as Japanese society, as Indian society, or as American society, every society is evolving and trying to evolve. But this evolutionary process is again happening from an unenlightened state. It is happening from a mind that is hungry, and it is happening from a mind that divides. You must understand that one of the very bad nature of human mind is to divide things. It divides everything. It divides everything as good, bad, right, wrong. This is not correct. This is the way it has to go. Everything is divided. Beautiful, ugly, tall, short, color. Everywhere there is division. Now, when you have an unenlightened mind, everything you try to create in this society's evolution, it will be a little problematic. You have to learn to function from a state of consciousness. Consciousness means a state. As Preethaji was mentioning, two states. You have to learn to function from an awakened state. When you can learn to live your life from an awakened state, then your mind is at peace. And when your mind is at peace, the solutions you throw up for all problems will be extraordinary solutions. It will not be born on division, rather it will be born on oneness. That is why Sri Preethaji and I want to awaken 80,000 enlightened beings. Mind is needed. Without the mind, you cannot live. But what is mind needed for? Your mind is needed to come up with some solutions for your problems. Mind is needed for you to drive. Mind is needed for you to come here to this hall to attend the program. It is needed for all those functional elements. But for you to find solutions for problems which are massive, like division, like class, a mind cannot solve it. It can only be solved by an awakening, by you awakening to a oneness consciousness. When you awaken to oneness consciousness, this society that is built on exploitation will change from exploitation to nurturing. You will start nurturing the other. This society that is built on fear will become a society that is built on love. Right now, the society is built on authority, exploitation, fear, hurt, anger. All this is because of the mind. But when you awaken to an enlightened consciousness, you will start to nurture the other. You will start to be free of fear. You will start to love. And when you can do that, everything will change. Every one of you will change. Your families will change. Your nation will change. And the world will change. That is why the answer to our problems is within us. It is not outside. See, aspiration every one of us must have. You should have, I should have, the country should have, all of us must have. But unfortunately, every aspiration we have is fueled by comparison. And what is causing us stress is comparison. Comparison that, one is comparison, two is judgment. So comparison that person is doing better, or I should beat that person, I should be better than that person, I should be better than my father. Many young men have this problem that I should be better than my father. Especially as you go into successful families, that's a huge, huge pressure. So you have that massive comparison that's taking place, and then you have judgment. What is society going to talk about me? What are my parents going to talk about me? And you judge yourself in comparison. If you can handle comparison and judgment, that is why I said aspiration is possible. Unfortunately, the fuel we are using to move towards aspiration is a wrong fuel. It's like you're trying to fly a plane with something like a kerosene. It's a very wrong fuel. It'll just struggle and struggle and struggle. It'll never start. So can I change my fuel? Yes, you can change your fuel. And the way you change your fuel is a beautiful state. You need to aspire and really fall in love with what you want to do. Not by comparing yourself or judging yourself with what others are thinking of me. What is going to happen to me if I fail? What is going to happen to my life? Will I have discomforts? And unfortunately, social media is a huge thing today where you see a lot of people having a lot of things and you want that. But
That's again comparison. So if we can have a mind that does not compare, and if we can have a mind that can not judge too much, then you can aspire from a beautiful state. And we can teach people that. We do teach. Well, they have to, in fact, go in hand. When you understand that materialism is the external and spirituality is the internal, they go hand in hand. Because we see constantly that how much ever you are successful, let's say America is today the most successful country, right? What's happening in America? Anyone can just take a gun and shoot people. Why is that happening? Your internal state is so damaged. So, materialism has got nothing to do with your inner state. That's what you need to understand. Inner state is spirituality. You need to work on your inner state. So, this whole understanding has to change. So, materialism is always external, spirituality is always internal. You must work on both simultaneously. If you can do that, if you can bring that fusion, you will be a great, wonderful human being, a great parent, a great leader, a great friend, everything. Because now you have mastered the art of making your state beautiful, and from that beautiful state, you're going after your external world. So, this understanding that materialism will give me joy and happiness is a wrong understanding. What it gives you is comfort and pleasure. That is what it gives you. But it will never give you joy and happiness. For joy and happiness, you need to move inwards and you need to grow spiritually. It's subjective, right? It's very subjective. Again, you have an ultimate aim for your external achievement and the ultimate aim for internal achievement to live in a oneness state. You must all become enlightened leaders. Today, many leaders in the world are aspiring to become enlightened leaders. We have leaders from Japan, China, US, Europe, everywhere, and even in India, who are all searching, they're all running companies more than $100 million. They're saying, we want a peaceful state. We cannot live like this anymore in the stress, burning out and burning our families out. So they're all looking for transforming their inner state and wanting to work from that changed, transformed inner state. So internally, the highest is oneness, where you have crossed all division and separation. Externally, it's very subjective. For some of you, it could be becoming a scientist, engineer, research and development, doctor, I don't know. It's very subjective. But my contribution to humanity and my contribution to all of you is that take your inner state along with it. Do not neglect your inner state, because if you neglect your inner state, you're not enjoying life with whatever success you have. Very good question. That's anxiety. So overthinking is anxiety, which means your brain is in beta wavelength, which means you need to calm your brain down. One of the simplest ways to do is bring attention to your breath. Later on, I will pass on a serene mind practice, which is a 3 minutes practice. People do this 10 times, 12 times a day. You do that practice in 3 minutes, your overthinking will stop. You will calm down. It's called serene mind. So if you can just bring attention to your breath, your mind will calm down. It is all neurology. You can change it. You can change the biology. You can change the chemistry. You just need to work on your brain. That's it. It's very simple. Overthinking happens because you're not conscious about what you're thinking. In anxiety, you don't know what is going on in your mind. And the speed is too much. Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Will this go right? Will this go wrong? You get anxious. So it becomes a habit after a point. You need to break the habit. And the way you break the habit is by bringing attention and awareness. So that's easy. Decision making is one of the most important aspect of life, yet it's the most toughest. And decision making becomes very, very tough when you're self-obsessed. When you are too obsessed with yourself on what is going to happen to me or what people are going to think of me, will I be called a fool? Will I be called a stupid? Am I making something wrong that is going to, cause a lot of problems? If you go over that same thought process again and again, you will not be able to make a decision. The way you make a decision is from a place of connection, from a place of passion, from a place of vision, which means you're moved beyond your limited self to something greater, to something more, far more greater than you. That is an art you need to learn. And if you can do that, then decision making becomes easy, because there is no fear, there is no stress. But unfortunately, in youngsters today and even in elders, the problem is decision making is so difficult because it's coming from self obsession. And when you are self obsessed, decision making is very, very difficult because you're thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the decision you need to make to the problem or what is right in front of you. So that is when you freeze. So a lot of people freeze when they start thinking too much about themselves.
Sir, if we are begging to forgive and we are not being forgived, what should we do?
Don't beg. So don't beg to be forgiven, okay? You can ask for forgiveness, but with the healing isn't asking for forgiveness. You must understand this. This is the secret. It's not in someone forgiving you. The healing is in you asking for forgiveness or you saying a sorry. That is it. Because you have realized what you have done. Yeah, it's wrong. Something is. So therefore, you just asking forgiveness is over. You have healed. You don't need someone's blessing later on saying, I am here to tell you that you're forgiven. That means your forgiveness itself is fake. Right? Again, you're depending on someone else to say, exactly. So don't worry about others forgiving you or not. You realizing and asking for forgiveness is enough.
Every day we woke up with some kind of motivation to do our things. But little things in our life always disturbs in the day. Yes. How can we overcome some little things and be stable throughout the day?
One way to do it is learn to change your brain to move into alpha state where it's actually calmer so that these little things actually don't disturb you. The reason you're getting disturbed is because your brain is already in a beta state where it's jumping up and down for every little thing. Second thing, on a higher level, you need to understand that life is only going to be challenging. So for you to have this idea that something out there has to change so that I can become peaceful is a wrong idea. So you're moving in the wrong direction. You're thinking that the sun is going to rise in the west and set in the east. That's never going to happen. It's always going to rise in the east and set in the west. So understand that you having that slight idea that can something out there bring peace to me is not going to happen. That idea is wrong. That direction you're moving in is wrong. So you need to always move inwards to find that peace, and every challenge you have, you can handle it. The reason you're not able to handle challenges is because you're not in peace. You're not calm inside. Your brain is beating very fast. Any challenge you can handle in your life. So you have to move to alpha state and have this understanding that I need to find calm within. And from this calm, I can handle the challenges. Then all these small things will not look like challenges at all. They'll not even disturb you. In fact, we'll start laughing at them. It'll be so easy for you to conquer them. They're disturbing you because you're very disturbed. If you become calm, nothing can disturb you. And even if you find disturbance, you'll move back to calm very soon because of these practices. So motivation is good up to a point because you're trying to do something different to solve that problem. But beyond the point, motivation doesn't work. You cannot keep telling yourself, I'm a Superman, I'm a He-Man, come on, I can handle this. I have the strength in me, I have the power, and let me jump up and down and go and do this. Once or twice, third time, no. So that is why all motivations fail after a point, because you're doing so much to solve the challenge and it's not happening. So motivate yourself to go inside. Motivate yourself to change the brain. So those are real things that can make a change. First of all, that I can always be calm amongst things going chaotic is a wrong understanding. So if anybody teaches you, I will teach you how to be calm while the whole world is going through a war, or your relationship is actually breaking, or you know that you have some serious health problem, or your bank balance is going to zero, and I will still teach you how you can be calm, is nonsense. Okay? So you cannot be calm. But after the disturbance has come, you can use the practices to become calm. So you can, what is happening now is that you are indulging in that disturbance. You get indulged in it. You get indulged in the problem. You and the problem become one. You don't know what is going on. What you need to learn is engaging in a problem. Engaging means you're looking at the problem and engaging in it. You're trying to solve it. Most of the young leaders today are indulging. Indulgence is very different from engagement. So when you engage, you become calmer. So you should understand that disturbance will come. It will happen, but you have the strength in you to come out of the disturbance by either doing this practice or by coming through the sky journey, learning more teachings, more wisdom, where you can easily come out of this disturbance and not indulge but engage. If you can engage, you will be very successful. Unfortunately, you indulge. Okay? You engage when you detach yourself from that stress, when you detach yourself from that problem and start seeing that problem. Okay, I have a financial problem now. I need to pay my bills next month. Yes. What do I need to do? That is engagement. Indulgence is, I am finished. I am gone. I am going to be on the streets. I am not able to pay my fees now. Okay, let me see if I can consume something and sleep for the next 24 hours without being disturbed. So that is indulgence. Indulgence is where you have lost finding a solution for the problem. Engagement is a place where you are actually trying to find a solution for the problem. That is engagement.